All right, and we are back for our main topic today. We're going to have a discussion on WandaVision.
Mhm.
So, WandaVision just wrapped up this week as of recording. 9 episodes only. Now, there was no surprise 10th episode. But this is going to be full spoilers. So, if you haven't watched this show, don't listen, or if you don't care about spoilers, then
Or go watch it all and come back.
yeah.
This is your warning.
I think it would be pretty quick.
I think it's a 5. Someone said they watched it. It was 5 hours.
Yeah, that makes sense. Unless you watch all the credits.
Yeah.
Then it's 10 hours. But let's just go. Let's start, at the top, and we'll go overall impressions of the season.
I love the cast. I was just so happy inside WandaVision and out with the people you spend time with. I mean, yeah, Wanda's working through some stuff, so it's kind of nice when you're with Sword and hanging out with Darcy and Monica and Jimmy. Those three together are just so much fun.
Yeah.
I loved. They did the show so accurately. It was nice going through and finding the little bits of each thing that was referencing another show.
Yeah.
I mean, I have like one nitpick. This is really, I just didn't like the Sword villain. I didn't like the guy running Sword and that whole subplot.
There was no payoff. Like, his whole thing was like, let's bring Vision back. He goes into the town and he gets arrested. There's no payoff of what he was trying to do.
Yeah, it was so boring. It was just like, who cares? But I'm going to say this is a huge win for storytelling.
Oh, God, yeah.
Because if this had been on like ABC, like an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it would not have this format. It would have a weekly format that would have been boring and tired.
20 episodes.
Yeah, I just can't even imagine them trying to put this on ABC and sell it for 24 episodes a year.
Right.
I mean, I think it was the perfect amount of time. I just really don't have many complaints. I will say Scarlet Witch, her trauma has put others through suffering, and she really doesn't get her due.
Yeah, there's Kyle, some overall high level thoughts, and then we'll dive into all these things. But
like I said, I started off really enjoying it because I grew up like as a Nick and Night child when I first started. So I grew up watching all those shows on weekends, staying up until 2, watching the repeats of My Three Sons, all that stuff. And when they started releasing I Love Lucy and Green Acres and all that. And I started off okay, but then I'll admit I started to get a little burnt out and just if this is all the series is going to be. But then when they started introducing Jimmy Choo and Monica and then Darcy, and not that I think
Jimmy Woo. Jimmy Choo's a shoe brand.
Oh my, sorry, Jimmy Woo. Sorry, at least I'm not knocking the guy's real name, Park, but
Randall
Park. But no, but when they started doing more of that and start intertwining that with like what the TV show was going on, that's like okay, I almost wanted to see more of that. I already knew Wanda created this realm where Vision's alive, and they're doing this, this family. They're going through the decades of the show. But I really started to like because now we're getting a new character with Monica Rambeau, who's eventually going to become Photon. Jimmy Woo, Darcy's back, and they make this trio. We were worried that there's a new no, not S.H.I.E.L.D., but a new organization called Sword, it was basically really opening up phase 2 for Marvel for us.
It's going to be. Go ahead.
No, but then when we started to see more like Wanda was like the Vision starting to question her. Everything's not as perfect as she was hoping it to be. Like Vision was like, well, "What's going on? Why can't I go past this place?" Mm-hmm. And she's like, and she starts realizing things are changing. Like, well, what's going on? Pietro shows up with a different face, with the actor from X-Men. So it's like, I'm a little. I'm not gonna call it nitpick. I was a little sorry that it didn't end up being Mephisto in some form or fashion. Now they can always go back and change it, but the fact that everything
I'm so glad it was.
Really?
Yes.
We could definitely dive into that because one of the things I want to talk about is like all the fan theories and just fan hype train of like this, but we can talk about that later.
I was hoping that instead of being an enemy for Wanda, I was eventually hoping we might have an Agatha the Harkness that might be like sort of down the road being the mentor for her. And so,
yeah.
And then at the end of it, there was a couple of things that I don't know if dropped the ball, but I was still a little disappointed in. So I'll save that for when we get into the bigger discussion. But overall, I mean, I think this is a whole new win for where it's going to go and for opening the door for the rest of the MCU, especially. It just sucks that we're not going to get any more of Wanda that I know of until next year when Doctor Strange comes out. And then we have to wait a whole like a year and a half until that, to get more tie-ins in with that.
Do you think they could put a season 2 together?
I thought I'd read that they already said yes to a season 2. So
really,
I can't even imagine what the pitch for that would be. But
I think it would have to be the consequences of Westview,
and then also like how do we bring back the Vision and Wanda? And now we have the white, Vision, and now we have Wanda, who's actually realizing, hey, I'm this conduit for magic, not just not like telekinesis and telepathy. So it's like I think it'd be interesting to see if you were to try to rekindle that in some form or fashion, what would happen? Especially now that we know that apparently, spoilers, her kids are still out there in some form or fashion. Which now again, this is what I love. It opens up the door for Young Avengers because now we have 4.
Yeah.
Now we have 4 of the Young Avengers.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I mean, I think I really enjoy the show. One of the reasons that The Winter Soldier is my favorite movie because it was the first movie that felt like it was something different.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was a genre film. It was just a spy film.
Yeah.
That happened to have Captain America in it. This felt way different than anything we've seen on the MCU before. And I like that. I like to see that
Doom Patrol level.
Yeah.
Weird.
Somebody threw that out, and I still say somebody said that there's never been anything like this. And I threw out 2 movies that I think were different on par that almost had that same sense, that feel. And Winter Soldier was one. Guardians was a second because nobody knew what Guardians was going to be, and it was a space opera. It was a Star Wars space opera. Yeah, exactly. And I think that was the only time that we ever got this is the next thing. It's like this is something that's totally out of the normal realm of what an MCU movie is. So.
Yep. Yeah, so I really like when they can show because comic book movie isn't a movie genre. Like that's just the medium that you're adapting things from, right? It'd be like saying all the movies based on books are book movies. It's weird, right?
Wait, Jurassic Park is based on a book?
It's a book movie.
It's a book movie. But yeah, I like that a lot. I like the different feel of the show because it was comedic at times. It was kind of a horror show at some points. Even in the same episode. It looked great, like everything, like I love the changing aspect ratio. Like that's just something that I'm noticing more and more as I dive into a lot of these things, like production value and all that stuff. I love the kids.
They're bringing more entertainment home, so they're going to make it theatrical.
Mm-hmm. I really like Wiccan and Speed. I think I hope they stick around. Like normally, kids could be annoying. Not these 2. These are cool. So hopefully they stick around.
And they fit into the mold really well, especially for the Malcolm in the Middle episode that was going to be kid heavy.
Yep. I will say, I think episode 8 overall is my favorite, and we can talk about that more in like all that we liked and disliked. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed the show. I didn't feel at any point that I was like disappointed or anything because I don't think as much as I think some of the fan theories are cool, that's just what they are, right? Like the show's been written for a long time already. It's not like they're gonna change it, but we could talk more about that when we talk about all the fan stuff. Now, before we move on to our, we can touch on some Easter eggs and some of the comic book things that we like because this is all based on comic book characters. Let me see if this works. We have some special guests that are going to join us.
In their new costumes, their West Coast Avengers costumes.
I'll say that I like how comic accurate they almost both are.
Yeah. Now we can definitely talk about comic book stuff because this is my favorite outfit of Wanda ever. Like in all the stuff she's had, it looks really cool, and Vision looks really cool too in white. I like both aspects of it.
Yeah. I got to be a fan of the white one in the West Coast Avengers for a while because it was a different, it was a change of the character.
How long was the White Vision in the comics?
About at least 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
But he started off on the West Coast and then joined the East Coast. I want to say it was around 91, either 92 or 93, when this scientist had created a body and basically transferred his essence into the Vision into the new body. And when he ended up dying, he ended up keeping the body he had created was more back to the same color scheme you'd originally been in, the green and yellow and red.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about some of our favorite comic book pulls or like Easter eggs and stuff. I think one of my favorite things was they really set up so much, and I think a lot of this leads up to a lot of those theories that maybe the writers are just trying to sneak in like a little thing for the comics. Like we saw in one of the animated intros, I think it was the one that was kind of like Bewitched. We saw what's Wonder Man's brother's name? That Grim Reaper.
Eric,
Yeah.
Simon.
We saw his helmet in between the house.
Yeah.
That was that was one of my favorite touches because I love the Vision story, that book, and he's there for a minute. So, but what about you guys?
I loved Frank Boner because that was such a great reveal at the end that it was like all your theories are wrong, and then going boner. I mean, I loved the casting. I loved the story. I loved the idea that he was just a puppet, and he is who Agatha keeps referring to as her husband Frank in the first 2 episodes. So it's nice that the reveal wasn't some big X-Men connection, and it was just kind of a goof. I like that.
Yeah. I really like the sword, the changing. I mean, I like sword, and I have questions now because we know Nick Fury and eventually is in space afterwards in Homecoming.
Well, that's what set up Spider-Man.
Right.
Or,
So
went from there to there.
So, but since this happens before Spider-Man, I guess, but is that sword? Is this sword like which sword is the real sword? Are they splitting off?
Not even that. Is Fury up in space even sword?
Right. Because I guess we all just kind of assumed that's what it was because that's what we know from the comics.
Because we do know one sword member, or no, she's a police member, is a Skrull.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't think that's the same Skrull from when she was a kid.
I don't think so.
Because I think they met. Well, did they meet? Did Talos's daughter meet?
Could that be Talos's daughter?
That's what I'm thinking.
Oh,
because she said. I mean, when she said a friend of your mom's, referring to Monica's mom.
No, it would be in Field. It's at Field. It'd be Nick Fury.
Well, it could be both, right? They were both kind of. I mean, Talos or Nick Fury both qualify as a friend of Maria Rambeau.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be interesting if that was the daughter of Talos we met in Captain Marvel, all kind of grown up and now doing missions and stuff.
Here's one for both of you. Clay will probably understand. Or actually, I'll take it back. Daniel, did you ever watch Buffy?
Yeah.
You know Anya?
Oh, I love Anya with the bunnies.
She was Dottie.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know it was Emma Caulfield. I didn't really just now until I'm looking at the cast. I'm like, are you shitting me?
I thought she was going to be more predominant because she had been because she was Anya.
Yeah, because they referred to her in the first episode and then once again later. But then that moment where she breaks and she starts to talk about her daughter and just saying and pleading with Wanda, just let her out of her room. I was like, oh shit, this is getting dark.
Yeah, I like. I definitely like. I'm not as familiar watching. Like, I never watched all of the Dick Van Dyke Show, but I've seen it before, so I know what it's supposed to look like. I know the aesthetic. I know Dick Van Dyke was a consultant for the show.
Yeah.
Right. So, it's funny because then you see Dick Van Dyke's name in the credits, and then you're like, who is it? Who's Dick Van Dyke in the MCU, right? But it looks like he's just Dick Van Dyke because he's in universe now. We saw he has his own DVD collection.
Oh yeah,
of the show. But that was cool. Like that and Bewitched. I grew up watching Bewitched, like reruns of Bewitched. So that was really cool. Like even though she never did the nose thing, I think they made a little nod about doing the nose thing, but I don't think Wanda ever did it. But now I think. Elizabeth Olsen was so talented that she just worked in every era of that they kind of did for sitcoms.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which one do you think she worked in best?
Oh God.
I I really like the Malcolm in the Middle one.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That one or the previous one, the Halloween episode, I kind of liked too.
Yeah, because she had to break quite a bit in that one. I really like her as kind of the Mary Tyler Moore type. She just seemed to kind of juggle everything and kind of do exactly what that show was about.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the first one was really funny because they were really playing on the slapstick, like you know, I Love Lucy and Dick Van Dyke and all that stuff. Like the first two, I guess, the first two episodes kind of like merge in my head because they're so similar, and we saw them together at the same time.
Yeah.
I will say, I was rethinking of all this, like I feel like they may have lost a few people with the first two, and maybe they eventually got them back. But if they had released the first three together, then they would have grabbed everyone, because you get everybody that loves the sitcom stuff that's different is on board, and then everybody that just wants more MCU stuff finally gets them at the end of three, right? With the reveal of the show and Sword watching them and stuff. So I feel like, and also we would have gotten a little bit more because it was only like really 40 minutes because the first two episodes were so short.
It still doesn't explain why it had to be broadcast. Why was there a broadcast frequency of the show?
I think it probably had more to do. I mean, this is speculation, but more to do with because she didn't know what her powers, what was happening. All she knows, she created this universe. So, like, basically, in her mind, she's creating a TV-based reality. So, I guess with creating the TV-based, you're going to have some sort of signal base coming out from the hex powers. It was just the way she kind of converted because she was making a TV show, and so that's going to leave off the frequency of what they picked up.
Probably just unintended consequence of like, you know, not being able to use her powers correctly, or not even being aware of. Like,
exactly.
I still say Mojo. I want Mojo to be tied to this, even though I liked the Frank Boner reference.
Mm-hmm.
What was I did think that the TV stuff was coming from her childhood, so that one did pay off.
Yeah.
The hard part of that show is watching her as a kid, and as she's watching like Mary Tyler Moore, and she's just so enchanted by her performance on television. That bomb hits, and you see those kids go out of frame so violently. That just was disturbing. That was, that's when I thought the show was like at its darkest.
Yeah, I think I mentioned, but that was my favorite post sitcom episode. Like, out of all the real stuff, like that was my. It just, I mean, not only do we get all the backstory on Wanda, we get to see her at all these stages, right? Because all those things that she visited, they had only kind of mentioned in passing through the other movies and stuff. So if somebody that's been watching the movies consistently, like, you're aware of what happened, but you don't really know. So, like, this feels new, even though we know what kind of happened, and it is new because there's a different twist to it, right? We know that the missile didn't explode, not because it was malfunctioning or because, but it was because of her hex magic that she kind of like made it not work.
I will say this: I just after watching him as Quicksilver in the X-Men films and seeing him in here as Pietro, I like Evan Peters more now than I like Aaron Taylor Johnson as Quicksilver. I wish that would become like canon. I wish that, because I know he wasn't actually Pietro, but I wish he would become the Pietro for this universe.
Well, if you're doing multiverse, why not have them both?
I don't know, because Evan Peters feels like he's the kind of actor who wants to do this kind of stuff and have fun. Aaron Taylor Johnson feels like he's more of like, I'm the bigger kind of star. I don't know.
He seems like I'm an actor.
Yeah, exactly. Where Evan Peters, like, through all the seasons of freaking American Horror Story he's done, I think this is, and the X-Men films, as bad as Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix, especially Dark Phoenix was, he still played Pietro. Like, he was like one of the not saving graces, but one of the joys of those movies.
Apocalypse is worse.
No, Apocalypse is better than Dark Phoenix. Have you watched Dark Phoenix?
Yeah, the one where Nightcrawler kills. Teenage Nightcrawler kills someone with his tail.
Oh, because Nightcrawler takes a life, it's a better film.
No. There's at least a story that Apocalypse is just a bunch of shit happening.
Yeah, I think they both have their ups and downs. They're definitely two of the worst of all the X-Men franchise.
I remember seeing, I mean, at least the Dark Phoenix story like had a cool cover for the Steelbook. Like
Yeah,
the Apocalypse one, I was just like, I'll just wait until I find it in a garbage bin and take it. I mean, it's just that movie is so there's no real story to it, no flow to it. They totally wasted Oscar Isaacs.
No argument there.
I mean, when we see Oscar Isaacs play Moon Knight, we're going to be like, oh, how cool. Why did they waste him in X-Men Apocalypse?
Why is he not bald or blue? Another thing I really wanted a little bit more, which I really like, was when they introduced Sparky. Because I was like, oh, please make it a robot dog. Like, bring it back, Vision. You could do it. I think that would have been well worth an extra episode.
Even if they just had the time where she's trying to create or keep things going and Sparky would turn into a robot, that I would have been just for that 1 second.
Just a hint, like, an Easter egg.
Also, the episode, I believe it's episode 5 that ends with Vision kind of yelling at Wanda through the credits. Like she starts playing credits, but they're arguing, right? Like he's like, something's wrong. You need to tell me, like, fill me in. But then you see the credits, because usually when we see the credits on a sitcom, it's like fun stuff's happening in the background or whatever. And this one's like, no, take the credits off. I want to know what's happening with their conversation. Which is one of the reasons it's a cool device that they use the sitcom trope to like bring all this stuff, or at least to frame everything about the show. Especially because we got those really cool commercials.
Yeah.
The 90s one was probably the Malcolm in the Middle one was probably the freakiest, with the yogurt and the shark and the kid dying on the island.
Oh my god, that was dark.
That was dark. Yeah, like they were not afraid to like go there. Lagos was only dark because we knew what it was referencing. Not so much because it's just a paper towel commercial, but like clean up your messes and then you're like, holy shit. But they did kind of go back and revisit any of those commercials they were kind of referenced on episode 8, right? Because the toaster sounded like the missile that dropped.
Yeah. Wasn't it a Stark toaster?
Yeah, the Stark toaster. Then the Hydra soap or Hydra bomb or whatever, the little soap.
Yeah.
It looked like the Mind Stone when Hydra had them. Which was also cool to revisit the Hydra facility. I wish we had gotten some Von Strucker.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that was also one of the wasted characters in the MCU.
Yeah, because when they showed her with the other two soldiers, they were just random Hydra guys, weren't they?
Yeah, they were just random guys. And that, like, how would Von Strucker would have wanted to be there for those experiments?
Yeah, it would have been nice to maybe put someone in there.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, we're asking a lot from the show too, but I think Disney can do it. That's why I asked, because I think they can deliver.
Arnim Zola could have been there,
even just in a computer form.
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah, by then he would have been a computer.
Yeah, but he's already been destroyed. He was destroyed in the bunker in Winter Soldier.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Winter Soldier is right before Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
But do we know when she encountered or when she volunteered, though? She volunteered. Yeah, that was before then.
Yeah, because at the end of Winter Soldier, we see them as an after credit scene.
Yeah, that's right.
Which was funny. I watched that movie with some people online this week, and we were talking about Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen were cast, and they were shown as siblings. And then in the next movie, they were both together.
I know where you're going with this.
Wife and Godzilla, and then we see him again in Age of Ultron. And all I could think was back to our comic book couples episode. And Clay bringing up the Ultimate Universe.
Hey, it's not me. Someone said, "Hey, let's write about incest," and then a whole company published a comic on it.
Yeah,
which you brought up.
Wasn't my idea. That was a Jeff Loeb story.
God.
Okay. Is there any more things from the comics, or do we want to jump onto? I mean, we can always revisit some stuff.
Yeah,
I do want to talk about some of our favorite moments.
I want to talk about her interaction with the Soul Stone at Hydra, because she's a human that's somehow empowered by this thing. Why we don't get much understanding to that?
I took that as to be her hex powers kind of made her, or kind of made the Mind Stone, kind of like they saved her from the missile. Her hex powers also saved her and Pietro from surviving the experiments.
So it's like what Agatha
Yeah.
says, like you had power and it would have just died away,
Yeah.
except the stone just
because
supercharged
they mentioned none of the volunteers prior to them have survived, right? Which makes sense because when we saw in Guardians, if you touch an Infinity Stone, like if you're just a base level human, you'll probably die.
Yeah.
Now, granted, Peter turned out to be half eternal or whatever.
Yeah.
But
is Scarlet Witch a mutant?
We're hoping. We're hoping.
I think that's what they're gonna try to retcon, like that there's already people with a gene that can be activated either due to traumatic events or outside forces like this, or like the snaps, like the multiple snaps from Endgame. Like I think that's a prevailing theory with the fans. That all that gamma radiation, or that all that radiation and what do they call it? RMB or CRM radiation, whatever the waves that are making the TV show. What's her name?
I got one. This is definitely comic based, and this actually ties WandaVision into Agents of Shield. The actor Gabriel Luna made a tweet basically posted because the Darkhold was actually in Agents of Shield when he was playing Ghost Rider.
Yeah,
he makes a tweet basically going, "Okay, yeah, I admit it. Under my mattress may not have been the best hiding place for the Darkhold." And it was, now you have Agatha who has the book. So again, it's small little ties that even when people were like, "Is Agents of Shield in the same universe? Not in the same universe?" So
because I think he took it to hell supposedly, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it would make sense that if Mephisto was behind this, then he would have been get it from hell. But
I still say he needs to. It needs to be like somewhere in the upcoming shows. He needs to be the one pulling the strings on some form or fashion.
Yeah. I don't know. They already gave his Infinity Gauntlet dialogue. They gave it to what's his name? The Black Maw.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Ebony Maw.
Ebony Maw. Yeah, he has that line of dialogue from the comics. But Mephisto has those lines in the comic when he's talking to Thanos.
Yeah, but again, like we've already had Thanos and everything. Now it's like I think the new big bad has to be Mephisto, kind of pulling the strings for the next phase, in my opinion, to bring the next Avengers team together.
I'm gonna say Annihilus.
I think that would be a good thing.
We're going cosmic.
Yeah,
I think Annihilus, the fantastic introduction of the Fantastic Four on the far end of this phase.
Maybe.
Calling it now. Annihilus shows up at the end of Eternals.
We know this phase
as a tease.
This phase is two-part. This phase is part supernatural and the magic world, and part cosmic. So Annihilus is one of the worst villains. And once you got the Fantastic Four, you use Annihilus or you use Galactus. And I think Galactus is he's a good villain, but he's a Ultron villain. He's your second movie villain.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would make sense. Let me see. Okay, let's talk a little bit about just some of our favorite moments in the whole thing. I'm sure we'll have some similar things, but Clay, I see you have some stuff with the notes, so I'll let you kick it off, and then we'll jump in.
I saw an interview with Seth Meyers. He was interviewing Catherine Hahn and was telling her that after the episode that has Agatha, it was Agatha After All as a song.
Yeah,
that was like a #1 song on iTunes.
It was.
She's just stunned by this. She is amazed, and a great interview.
It's what the Kills call that. That's a bop. It definitely was cool. I love that people online were like, "Oh, they're sampling that Fall Out Boy song." Yeah, and that Fall Out Boy song sampled the theme from the Monsters. So that's what they're really sampling. But yeah, it was so good. I mean,
She is the perfect actress for this part. She got to play TV, which she excels at.
Mhm.
She got to ham it up. She got to fly and throw spells. I mean,
Yeah.
Catherine Hahn is. It's tough to say she's the best part of the show because there's so many good things.
Yep.
But being such a new player and just having the 5 hours, awesome. Best part of the show for me.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely rose to the level. I hate to say that TV actors are not on par with movie people, but Catherine Hahn, like, she's more known for her TV roles, in which she's great. I love her in Parks and Rec.
But she does a movie like Step Brothers, where she's just over the top and can do that on screen.
So this is just more proof that she's super talented. She could play any role because she flips on a switch when Wanda kind of locks her back in as the nosy neighbor. Like, that was scary. Like that. I'll say this: Wanda is a scary character sometimes when she wants to be. Because, oh my God, like when the people awoke, that was one of my favorite moments. When all the people in Westview woke up in the last episode and they started
saying, "We are having your nightmares."
Yeah.
That was another dark moment. I was like, see, I would love to see a second season that focused on the recovery of Westview because it has to tie to her. She has to
make amends.
She has to make amends. And what is she doing now? She is trying to heal, but she's also trying to find kids that she created and a husband that she brought back from the dead.
Well, she's also been told that she's also more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme.
True. And she might turn out to be the next villain.
We're kind of shown that because we know that whenever Doctor Strange goes into the astral plane, his body goes limp. And
I know. I was going to bring that up. It's like, how the hell is she walking around drinking tea when she's in astral form doing everything with the Darkhold?
In the cabin, like, she could be both aware in our world, in the reality and in the astral plane.
I honestly thought that was going to be the cabin that Bruce was staying at the end of Incredible Hulk.
Oh, that would have been great.
I know.
Little metronome.
Yeah. So she called up Bruce, like, "Hey, Bruce, where's that cabin you were using back then? You don't need it anymore. You're a Professor Hulk now." I know we haven't fully met or talked a lot in a lot of these things, but I saw you at Tony's funeral. They told me about your cabin. But yeah, Catherine, holy shit, what a character. I think overall, I'm glad she was the big bad.
Yeah,
like I know Sword's also kind of a bad, but Hayward was not on par with that.
Yeah, he's very boring. I mean, just business guy, bad guy.
Yeah, and maybe it's because I had also maybe he is somebody else or whatever. I think the worst thing he did was kind of inception Wanda into doing all this stuff. So it's definitely a lot of his fault. Because we learned that Agatha just kind of stumbles into there like after she realizes what's going on.
Yeah.
Right? She didn't make Wanda do this. She just took advantage of it once it was already happening.
And does White Vision blame Sword for keeping part of his memories from him?
Sure.
That's another moment where I think when you have one vision that's created from the memories and from the Soul Stone via the Scarlet Witch, and then he impresses that upon the White Vision, so that magic and that, I mean, you could say love is transferred to that physical body from the magical one.
That was one of the two big pet peeves I have about the last episode, was the fact, like, Good Vision empowers White Vision with the memories. He goes, "I am Vision," and just flies off, and that's it. No response, no help. And it just leaves, and we don't have no idea what the hell happened.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions left.
The other one is Monica. Like, I thought we were getting a good progression, and then by episode 7, you realize that she has powers. And at the end of the episode, there's Pietro, and then 9, nothing, and episode 8, nothing, and then episode 9, she's there for a couple moments, but nothing, no progression of like, oh, she didn't really do much with the series, nothing like advanced. Oh, she has like a little another tease that she has powers, her body's been altered, and then it's just like, oh, somebody who wants to talk to you, Nick Fury. Again, we have to wait till probably next year until we ever see her again. Even though she's supposed to be Captain Marvel 2, that's not until like 22, 23, and Nick Fury's Secret War is still far off. So again, just a little bit more with those two characters, just kind of so we don't have to wait and go, what the hell just happened? Why, aren't we seeing? I don't know.
It's interesting to look at the Netflix series that we got, and I think at the least amount of episodes was 8 episodes. Was that like the Defenders run was 8 episodes?
8, yeah, I think 8 for Defenders. Yeah, everything else was 13.
And they were all an hour, so you got 8 hours of that. And so, is Marvel trying to perfect the time period by knocking it down to 5 episodes, or is this just the way this show needed to be?
I think they're going for about 6 hours because Falcon and Winter Soldier is only 6 episodes, and I think they'll probably be about an hour.
Okay. All right. Because I'm curious with the budget that they have for this and what they're ripping Vision apart and putting him back together in this show over and over again. That's got to be expensive.
Which brings me to one of my favorite moments when Vision talks to Vision about, like, they're fighting in the library.
Yeah.
First of all, I thought that Vision was going to put the bubble gum inside of White Vision to gum him up. I thought that's how he was going to defeat him. I was like, there's no way they're doing that.
Oh, that's a great one, though. Because I love that.
That's where he had gum right at the library when we were having the neighborhood watch meeting. And I was like, there's no way they're doing that. But then they did it even better because they're better writers than anything I can imagine.
The fight sequence between the two Visions was fucking awesome.
Yeah, because, Vision has the upper hand because he knows how to use the facing better. But then the White Vision he's an AI. He learns. So, like, he starts using that stuff against him. And then they realize that they're not going to solve anything by just beating each other.
Yeah.
And, like, the whole conversation about the ship of Theseus, which I had not heard about that. I guess it's like a thought experiment. And, it was really cool. Like, you're right. Like, who is the real Vision? Are they both the real Vision? And I think that's the conclusion they came to, that they're both Vision.
Yeah.
I don't know. I may need to,
because they both at the beginning, they said that neither one was, and he said, well, they've been keeping memories from you, and then he gives them that to make him whole.
Which I'm glad that he got the memories. I feel like going forward, we definitely I want the character to come back, and I want him to, like, him and Wanda, I like their relationship a lot. So I hope that they eventually end up back together somehow after they atone for everything that's happened. Because I feel like both of them have some soul searching to do on that case.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting, though, to watch the White Vision, though, because Paul Bettany just, again, he was so great in this show. His physicalness of each character is so different. And just like you have the White Vision here, the way he stands, he kind of has a snarl on his face. Mm-hmm. He does everything as Vision as each character in the show physically different. And that's worth watching the show itself again, because he does the Dick Van Dyke moves in the first episode to the Malcolm in the Middle dad coming down the stairs. And now he even has another character, which is my favorite setup of all, when Paul Bettany said, we have a cameo in the last show of an actor I've always wanted to work with, and I'm a big fan of.
And it's himself.
That is the best gag of all.
That was funny. Big troll. Very
big troll.
Well done, Paul Bettany. This is for everyone that just has all those theories. And I think he had an interview recently. I think that's where he admitted that, maybe it was a joke and maybe whatever. People took it out of context now, because now that we know what it is like, I think it's really funny because it is true, right? You don't get to act against yourself a lot. So
he also said in an interview, if how long does he want to play the Vision? He goes, I love the Vision. I'll keep playing it as long as they want me. So again, we have an actor who has come into the role and wants to go as far as he can with it, which I love. That's when the actors for the Marvel MCU, like, I'm this character. I don't care if I'm portrayed as this character. It's like Chris Hemsworth. I am Thor. I want to play Thor as long as I'm able to.
Yeah, and this character kind of revitalized his career because he talked about maybe like his agent told him that he was done at some point. Then he had that movie with where he was a priest or something.
The only 2 movies I'd ever seen him in one was A Knight's Tale with Heath Ledger, and then Wimbledon with
Kristen Dunst.
Yeah, Kristen Dunst. Yeah, those are the only 2 movies I'd ever seen him in.
But he's really good, and I love him in A Knight's Tale.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, that Legion movie was not very good either.
Yeah, but it had great action.
Yeah, it does, but overall, I'm like,
It's a bad movie. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I'm glad Paul Bettany's got because he's so good. Like he can play all these things.
Technically, he's also the longest running actor in the Marvel MCU if you think about it, because he's played Jarvis since Iron Man 1.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, now that Tony's no longer around for now.
Yeah.
And I say for now because this is based on comics, and we know how comics work.
Yeah, well, unless we see Hulk's arm heal, I'm going to go with the fact that the mechanics of the MCU don't work the same way the 616 universe does.
I bet Hulk's arm is fine by the next time we see him.
We'll see.
He has healing powers. Just cut it off, right?
But we know he can heal, but these are Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we're talking a universe where basically, in the 616 universe, a normal human could pick up an Infinity Stone. You pick one up in MCU, you're toast.